In this bulletin, religious leaders go public on racism. A pastor abducted in eastern Ukraine. And Hillsong cleans up at the Dove Awards.
This is InFocus Christian News and Current Affairs.
Hello, it's great to have your company this week. I'm Dannielle Synot, and it's also great to welcome back my tanned and relaxed co-host from his holidays, Kent Kingston.
Tanned and relaxed, Dannielle? Well, maybe a little bit tanned, but relaxed. I was busy. I was building stuff and scrubbing walls and entertaining children in the tropical heat. But look, it is good to be back. What's happening on InFocus this week? Politics, is that right?
Well, you should know, Kent, you're the producer. If you don't know, we really are in trouble. But yes, politics with Lyle Shelton, and I'll also be chatting with Doc about the vegetarian diet.
Okay, well, funny, I thought that was Sue's area, but look, it will be interesting to get Doc Wright's perspective.
Absolutely. And of course, Kent, you've got an interview with Ash Barker.
Oh, yeah. You know, I have been looking forward to meeting this guy for ages. For the past 12 years, Ash has lived in one of Bangkok's poorest slums in a slum house with his wife and 2 kids, showing the love of Jesus to his neighbours.
Wow.
I really want to know, Dannielle, what makes this guy tick?
Yeah, I'm sure you do, Kent. It sounds absolutely incredible.
Oh, you're not kidding. News?
Thanks, Kent. The leaders of the 20 most powerful countries in the world will be meeting in Brisbane next month, and Christians are preparing to make an impact on the event. The Business Blessings network of Christian business owners in Brisbane is calling for prayer in the lead-up to the G20 Leaders Summit. Business Blessings says decisions made at the summit will impact everyday issues such as jobs, property prices and economic growth. Christian campaign organisation Micah Challenge is also gearing up for the G20 meetings. They're advocating for world leaders to reorganise their tax systems to make sure multinational companies pay their fair share of tax, money that can be used to benefit the world's poor. Christian representatives were among religious leaders who gathered in front of Parliament House in Canberra to express their concern about racism and discrimination in Australia. According to the ABC, the faith leaders are worried about the government's new anti-terrorism legislation and moves to segregate visitors to Parliament House who have their faces covered. The religious leaders say the tone of the recent political discussion over Islam has become negative and divisive. They're calling for Australia to stand firm in preserving its democratic values, freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and a fair and inclusive culture. Participating in the gathering were Buddhists, Hindus and Sikhs, as well as leaders representing Muslim organisations, the Uniting Church and interfaith groups. Kiwi Christian leaders are also calling on their government to take a more compassionate approach, this time to refugees. Apram Pithu, a priest with New Zealand's Assyrian Christian community, says New Zealand should increase its intake of Assyrian refugees fleeing violence from the so-called Islamic State rebel group. According to the New Zealand Herald, Father Pithu says he supports the current military intervention by America and others, but is keen for humanitarian issues to be more of a priority. New Zealand Prime Minister John Key said he'd make a decision about increasing support to the troubled region next month. In another of the world's trouble spots, eastern Ukraine, an Adventist pastor was abducted at gunpoint during a church service in what appears to be a religiously motivated attack. According to the Adventist Review, Pastor Sergei Litovchenko was serving communion when the unidentified men entered the church and demanded he accompany them. The men said the region was an Orthodox land and that there was no room for other Christian groups. In the recent past, pro-Russian separatists have detained members of other Protestant churches, but have always released them fairly quickly. Pastor Litovchenko's whereabouts are still unknown. In their traditional heartlands in Western countries, many Anglican congregations are struggling to make headway. But in Ethiopia, the effect of war and displacement has been to grow the church. According to Anglican News, more than 500,000 people have fled South Sudan's ongoing conflict. Many of these refugees have ended up in Ethiopia, which is now the country hosting the largest number of refugees in Africa. But along with their stories of suffering, the South Sudanese have also brought their faith and have planted dozens of churches in and around refugee camps. Some congregations have brought members of rival tribes together for worship to make the point that not even war can divide the body of Christ. The robust debate over women's ordination is continuing in the Seventh-day Adventist Church, with a number of theologians and pastors publicly releasing an 8-page document. The paper upholds the doctrine of headship, including male headship in the home and church. The document seeks to biblically refute, point by point, a statement recently released by the Theological Faculty of Andrews University in Michigan, USA, that pointed to Christ as the only head of the church. World church leaders are currently gathered for their annual council in the United States to discuss the issue and prepare an agenda for the General Conference Worldwide Constituency meeting to be held in July 2015. There's no doubt that organising international church conferences is an expensive business, and observers sometimes question whether such events are a responsible use of finances. The obvious solution is to link the conference delegates online, something that is becoming increasingly possible as internet availability and quality improves. But how much cheaper is this option really? About $1 million cheaper, according to a recent experience of the Adventist Church's world headquarters in Maryland, USA. They recently organised an online stewardship conference involving about 10,000 people from 83 countries. Cost around $20,000 US. Organisers say a face-to-face conference, including air travel, accommodation, meals and a large conference centre, would have cost more than $1.1 million. As was widely predicted, Australia's Hillsong United left this year's Gospel Music Dove Awards victorious with an armful of trophies. Hillsong United was voted Artist of the Year and their song Oceans was named Song of the Year, just 2 of the 5 Dove Awards they took home from Nashville, Tennessee.
We started as just a bunch of rat bags in our youth ministry trying to write music and have fun, and we're just grateful for our pastors and leaders to kind of, shepherd us and encourage us to just do what we, do to glorify God, and that's been our heart. We just want to help people, and so we feel like we're just holding on for the ride. We never thought that, 10 plus years in that we'd be here at the Doves and get to be what we're a part of. We're just so grateful.
According to Baptist Press, Switchfoot, Skillet, Chris Tomlin and Ali Holcomb were also awarded. And Mercy Me was recognised for the success of their 1999 song, I Can Only Imagine, the first gospel song to reach the 2 million digital downloads mark.
Will I stand in your presence, or to my knees, or will I fall? Will I sing hallelujah? Will I be able to speak at all? I can only imagine, yeah.
After the startling success of evangelistic meetings in Vanuatu, where more than 2,000 people were baptised, the new converts are already seeing changes in their lives. For example, 134 couples were married in just one day. Many of the couples had already been living together before making their new commitment to Jesus, and they wanted to make their relationships right before God. 13 Adventist churches in the town of Efate helped to organise and host the weddings in an expression of support for the couples, many who would not have been able to afford to get married otherwise. And that's this week's news. What do you reckon, Kent? Do you reckon weddings would come cheaper by the dozen if we bought them in bulk?
Buy in bulk, absolutely, yeah. Very efficient. Be a great way just to move them through, bam, bam, bam. That's a great idea.
Oh, come on, Kingston. You're a big softy at heart. Come on, look at me in the eye and tell me, have you ever cried at a wedding?
Look, we need to go to a break now.
Yeah.
We've got plenty more to pack in, Dannielle. Politics in Focus is coming up after the break.
You wuss.